Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the football betting series here on YouTube, Premier League edition. Last week was so close to being perfect: 6 wins, 1 loss, and 0 pushes, with only the North London derbies over 2.5 goal selection letting us down. This means our September record stands at 11 wins, 2 losses, and 0 pushes for a monthly profit of £112.40. When we add this to the overall record, that brings us up to 22 wins, 7 losses with 3 pushes, and a series profit of £172.40. I have 3 selections in today's episode, so if you think I'm talking some sense, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Without further ado, let's get into it. Our first selection sees 4th place Liverpool playing host to 11th place Bournemouth. And Liverpool, they suffered defeat for the first time this season at the hands of Nottingham Forest last week. In the 73rd minute, Anthony Elanga won the ball and started the counter-attack, finding Hudson-Odoi to his left, who guided the ball past Alisson. The shot kissed the post on the way through and handed Nottingham Forest the lead. As expected, in this game, the Reds held most of the ball, and they did create 14 efforts, but one big chance Nottingham Forest 2 shows a lack of incision in the final third. Form-wise, this result broke Liverpool's 3-game winning streak. They're no longer unbeaten and will look to bounce back in this one. They play a Bournemouth side who were Bournemouth side who will feel hard done by in their last game. They lost 1-0 to Chelsea. Bournemouth started the game as if they were fired out of a cannon, pressing Chelsea high up the field early and often. James Tavernier struck the crossbar early on, and Evan Nilsson had his penalty saved after 38 minutes. This kept the scores level at the break, which allowed Maresca to get in and reform some of his tactics. Speaking of breaks, it was a late change of possession in which the ball broke kindly for Jadon Sancho as he set up Christopher Nkunku for the winner. Form-wise, this means that Bournemouth have won just 1 of their first 4 league games of the season, although a positive spin is they are unbeaten in 3 of their 4 games this season. When we look at the head-to-head record, Liverpool won the previous encounter in some style by 4-0. Credit to Bournemouth where it is due, they did hold Liverpool to a goalless first half, limiting the Reds to just 4 shots and 0.09 XG. The second half was a different story, though, as Nunez made the breakthrough 4 minutes into the second period, leading to Bournemouth's downfall. Jota added 2 more in the 70th and 79th minute before Nunez scored his second in stoppage time, a much more convincing display of the firepower that Liverpool possess. This result means that it was the 3rd win in a row for the Merseysiders. Additionally, Liverpool have won 10 of the last 11 encounters, with the only result going Bournemouth's way was a 1-0 victory in March of 2023. My prediction for this game is that all signs are pointing to Liverpool winning in this match, and are hosting one of their favourite oppositions, Liverpool to win for a full stake in bet number 1. Our second selection sees 13th place Tottenham Hotspurs playing host to 9th place Brentford. And Spurs, they were felled by their North London rivals Arsenal last week. A Gabriel header proved the deciding factor in what was a really exciting spectacle. Spurs did control the possession of the game, but despite having twice as much shots as Arsenal, they ultimately failed to make the breakthrough. Form-wise, this means that Spurs have won just 1 of their 4 games to start the season, with that sole victory coming in the 4-0 result against Everton. This is despite Postecoglou getting them to play a generally good style of football. They are currently averaging 15.7 shots per game, with 6 of these efforts on target, and an individual XG of 1.4. They play a Brentford side who suffered a narrow defeat last weekend, this time at the hands of Manchester City. Brentford caught the reigning champions sleeping as Johan Visser's first-minute goal made the breakthrough. 22 seconds is the fastest goal of the season so far. However, the game was flipped on its head with an Erling Haaland double, proving to be the difference between the 2 sides as Man City ran out 2-1 victors. Form-wise, Brentford now have 2 wins and 2 losses, which is a very respectable record for a side that have already faced 2 of the top 3 sides from last year's season. They've also looked pretty good moving forwards, scoring in 3 of their 4 matches too. When we look at the head-to-head record, the previous result saw Spurs come out ahead by 3-2. Brentford took the lead through Neil Maupay before Spurs banged in 3 goals in just 8 minutes. A consolation was added by Tony, but this added nothing to the scoreline other than salvaging a bit of Brentford's pride. Spurs took the win in the end. Longer term, the form has been quite mixed, with the last 4 games seeing a Spurs win, a Brentford win, and 2 draws in that period. My prediction for this game is that both sides have had mixed form, and the head-to-heads record is about as clear as mud. Instead, I'll be looking at goals here. Spurs have seen over 2.5 goals in 2 of their 4 games, with half of these results coming at home, whereas Brentford have seen 3 of their last 4 games seeing over 2.5 goals scored, with half of their away games seeing over 2.5 scored too. When we look at the head-to-head record, over 2.5 goals have been scored in each of the last 4 encounters, and an average amount of 4.25 goals per game, With all of this data, I'm leaning towards over 2.5 goals here, and I'm going to take that for a full stake in bet number 2. Our third and final selection in today's episode sees first place Man City playing host to second place Arsenal. And as touched upon in our previous selection, Man City managed to turn the tables on Brentford thanks to an Erling Haaland brace. With City falling behind early on in both their games in the Etihad, maybe the lesson for the rest of the league needs to be do not poke the bear. With that win, it's still a perfect start for Man City, 4 wins from 4. They score an average of 2.75 goals per game, with Erling Haaland looking particularly scary. He scored 9 of City's 11 league goals this season, which is around 82% of contributions. Arsenal, they ensured that North London remains red with their win over Spurs. Gabriel's header proved to be the key difference between the sides, and Arteta, he allowed Spurs to have the lion's share of possession, but ultimately the Gunners proved too organised to allow a goal, picking up their third clean sheet in 4 games this season. It's an unbeaten start for Arsenal, but not quite as perfect as Man City's when you take into account the 1-1 draw against Brighton. But at the start of the season, it puts them very much in title contention early doors. When we look at the head-to-head record, the last game finished goalless at the Etihad was a much better result for Arsenal than it was for the Citizens, as Man City held 72% of possession and took twice the shots of Arsenal. Despite this and 700 passes, Man City only managed to create an XG of 1.02, so once again a strong showing from Arsenal's defence. Looking back a little bit further, and Arsenal have had the best of the last 3 meetings. 1 win at the Emirates and 2 draws in the last 3 is a really good record for sure. Before then, City did run the show. They won each of the last 8 consecutive meetings before then, a record dating back to October of 2020. My prediction for this game is that it is a very hard match to call. We also have European competition to factor in here, so I'm going to struggle to pick a side in this one. Both sides have a tremendous capacity to create chances and punish mistakes, but I really like the recent trend of low-scoring affairs. Over the last 3 matches, there have only been 3 goals in over 300 minutes of action, and with Arsenal rising to the level of title challenger in the Arteta era, the first goal in this match is very important. With such pressure on not allowing that first goal in, I can see the game starting off at quite a low tempo. More of the focus will be on ball retention with less direct approaches in the first half for both the home and the away side. With this in mind, I am tempted to take under 2.5 goals around 1.9, but to the same extent, I do really respect the firepower of both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a wee bit more conservative. I'm going to take under 3.5 goals, odds of 1.33, for a full stake in the final bet of the episode. So there we have it, 3 selections in today's episode. Starting off with Liverpool versus Brentford, we're going to be backing the home side, odds of 1.33, a £40 stake to return 12 in kind. Elsewhere at the same time, Spurs versus Brentford, we're taking over 2.5 goals, odds of 1.46, a £40 stake to return £18.40. And on the Sunday, Man City play Arsenal, we're taking under 3.5 goals, odds of 1.33, a £40 stake to return £13.20. So across the weekend, we're going to be risking £120 to hopefully pick up as much as £43.60. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into the next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Don't forget to check out the continental picks in the comment section below. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.